When the millionaire laughed, the humiliated housekeeper revealed her incredible star power. In the heart of a quaint suburban town, Emily, a 25-year-old housekeeper working for the pompous millionaire Ronald, was no stranger to feeling invisible. Day in and day out, she scrubbed the floors and dusted the ornate furniture of his sprawling mansion while dreaming of a life that shimmered beyond those walls, one where her stunning voice could be unleashed, free from the constraints of a life she barely recognized as her own. The stark economic divide cast a shadow over her dreams, especially when Ronald mocked her passion for music, treating her as a mere servant. As the annual charity gala approached, Ronald planned an extravagant evening filled with crystal chandeliers and laughter that echoed through his lavish home. He, oblivious to Emily's mother being a single mom and veteran struggling with PTSD, extended an invitation to her, believing her to be a high-profile guest. The grand night unfolded with swirling laughter and clinking champagne glasses, a world of privilege that felt galaxies away from Emily's reality. When Emily walked into the room that night to serve, Ronald's laughter suddenly turned derisive. "So, you think you're a singer?" he sneered, dismissing her dreams as mere fantasies while his guests chuckled. Emily's heart ached, disappointment washing over her as she felt her dreams crumble. But deep inside, a spark flickered. She would not let him snuff out the fire that had long been kindled in her soul. In the days that followed, a local charity event loomed, and Emily decided to seize this shot at showcasing her talent in front of her neighbors who believed in her. They offered words of encouragement as she practiced, her heart swelling with gratitude for their support. But just as she was about to step onto the stage, she overheard Ronald, scoffing at the idea of her being a real singer. Pain ignited within her, but among familiar faces, she felt a shift. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With a deep breath, she stepped into the lights, her neighbors cheering her on. As she opened her mouth, her voice soared through the room, carrying the weight of her struggles and dreams. It was a sound born from heartbreak, echoing with determination. The audience, initially skeptical, found themselves entranced, their applause washing over her like waves of hope. Even Ronald, his laughter caught in his throat, stared in shocked silence, realizing he had underestimated the girl who gleamed beneath the weight of his privilege. The last note resonated. Applause thundered around her, lifting her higher than she ever thought she could reach. She could see her mother, beaming with pride, and felt the community rally behind her, transforming the night into a celebration of resilience that defied the boundaries of class. As words of opportunity and scholarships for music flowed in her direction, Emily glanced at Ronald, who stood immobilized, his expression shifting from mockery to awe. The emotional high was infectious, but as the applause roared, so too did a new uncertainty pulse through her. Would she continue this journey, daring to chase the dreams that almost felt like too much? And would Ronald finally see beyond his privileged world? That night hung in the air, unanswered questions flickering like fireflies, leaving Emily suspended between her hopes and the unknown future waiting just beyond the stage lights. The days that followed the gala felt like a whirlwind. Emily continued to ride the high of her performance, each note she sang on stage replaying in her mind like a beautiful melody. The applause still echoed in her heart, and the warmth of her neighbors' support enveloped her like a blanket on a cold night. For the first time, she felt seen, valued, and celebrated, a stark contrast to her daily routine of scrubbing floors and dusting cobwebs in Ronald's mansion. But as the thrill began to wear off, uncertainty slithered back into her thoughts. What did this recognition mean for her? Was she truly capable of pursuing a music career, or had she just gotten lucky with one performance? She knew the road ahead would not be easy, especially with Ronald looming in the background, still very much a part of her life. Determined to find clarity, Emily sought solace in her mother's piano. Her fingers danced over the worn keys, melodies flowing out of her as if they had been trapped inside. waiting for this moment. The music felt like a conversation with her soul, reminding her of the dreams she had since she was a little girl, singing in front of crowds, recording albums, and living a life full of art. Yet deep down, anxiety gnawed at her. What if her moment of glory turned out to be just a fleeting spark? What if Ronald returned to his dismissive self, reminding her that she was still just the help? The images of laughter from the gala clashed with reality, creating dissonance in her heart. Meanwhile, Ronald couldn't shake off Emily's performance either. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her standing confidently on that stage, her voice cutting through his rehearsed judgments like a knife. For the first time, he questioned if there was more to her than the role he had assigned. He even caught himself imagining what it would be like to hear her sing in a proper venue where people truly recognized her talent. That on a bright Tuesday morning, Emily received a message from the charity that held the event. They were offering her a chance to audition for a local talent showcase that could lead to bigger opportunities. Her heart raced at the thought. This was exactly what she needed, a stepping stone to her dreams. Yet, doubt crept in again. Could she really go through with it? Would she be taking a risk, all while knowing how Ronald might react? In that moment of hesitation, her phone buzzed again. It was her neighbor, Lucy, fervently encouraging her to take the leap. "You have an incredible gift, Emily. Don't hide it. Show the world what you've got." Her words resonated like a battle cry, pushing Emily closer to a decision. She needed to choose between the comfort of routine and the potential for something greater. With the audition day approaching, Emily found herself standing in front of the mirror, rehearsing the same song she sang at the gala. Each note felt like a little thread weaving hope into a fabric of uncertainty. Every practice session blurred the lines, merging fear with excitement until they became indistinguishable. On one hand, she had the promise of new beginnings. But on the other, she had Ronald, a figure who could loom like a cloud, darkening her future with just a few biting comments. Could she navigate this newfound path without letting his voice pierce her confidence? As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hope, Emily made a decision. She would go to the audition. But just as she made that vow, her phone pinged again. This time, it was Ronald. "I need to speak with you. Meet me at the mansion tonight." The timing couldn't have been worse. What could he want now? Would he try to belittle her dreams again? Or did he have something else in store? As questions spiraled in her mind, Emily felt the weight of the moment bearing down on her. It was time to confront the man who had, for so long, dictated her reality. With trembling hands, she typed a quick reply, "I'll be there." With a mixture of dread and resolve, she wondered what this encounter would lead to. Would it forge a path to understanding, or would it be yet another detour on her journey? Emily's heart thumped against her ribcage as she approached the mansion. The familiar path felt different beneath her worn shoes, almost foreign. With each step, a mix of dread and determination washed over her. The sun had dipped below the horizon, and a chill filled the air, reminding her that whatever awaited her inside could change everything. Inside the sprawling estate, shadows loomed large. The grand foyer with its ornate chandeliers felt like a gilded cage, a testament to wealth and privilege that had long felt suffocating. She glanced around, as if searching for any hint of support. The house echoed with silence. Ronald was a creature of habit. He would be in his study, hidden behind his walls of power and pride. Taking a deep breath, she walked towards the study. The heavy wooden door stood slightly ajar, and the glimpse of light escaping through the crack made her pause. Could she really face him? Could she stand firm in her convictions when his presence seemed to sap her courage? With resolve, she pushed the door open. Ronald sat behind an enormous oak desk, his brow furrowed as he rifled through documents. He didn't look up at first, and she stood there awkwardly, the weight of the moment settling heavily on her shoulders. "Emily," he said finally, his voice devoid of the usual detachment. He leaned back in his chair, scrutinizing her. "I saw the clips from the gala. Impressive." His words landed like a heavy stone, unexpected and confusing. Part of her wanted to bask in his acknowledgement, but another part of her remained guarded, unsure if this was just a prelude to criticism. "Thank you," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I received an offer to audition for a talent showcase." For a moment, Ronald simply stared, his expression inscrutable. It was in that silence she felt a flicker of hope, but soon caught herself. I wanted to let you know. She hesitated. I'm going to take that chance. At that, Ronald frowned, the lines on his face deepening. Emily, you're still an employee here. The arrogance slipped back into his tone, and the warmth she felt earlier evaporated instantly. A woman can multitask, she shot back, surprising even herself. I won't let this opportunity slip away just because I work for you. Ronald's eyes narrowed, reflecting a mixture of irritation and intrigue. Don't dream too high. You can't simply turn your back on responsibilities. What will everyone think? Are you ready to be a public figure, or just play the role of a charity case? His mocking tone sparked anger within her. What do you know about what I'm capable of? She demanded, her voice gaining strength. I've hidden behind your shadows long enough. Singing isn't a role for me. It's my dream. For a moment, all the bravado seemed to fill the room, swirling around them like electricity. But just as quickly, his demeanor shifted. You might end up making a fool of yourself, he said flatly. This town can be relentless. His words pierced Emily, but she forced herself to stay grounded. Better a fool chasing a dream than someone too afraid to follow theirs, she challenged. The room crackled with weighty tension. He leaned forward, eyes searching hers, the walls of his facade beginning to chip away. What if you fail? He finally asked, almost softer than before. What if I succeed? She countered, her heart pounding fiercely and loudly now. Ronald studied her, and in that moment, a flicker of something shifted in his expression, sometimes fear, sometimes resistance. The man who had kept her in her place was beginning to face the woman emerging from the shadows. Maybe I can support you, he said finally, albeit reluctantly. Emily's heart raced at the unexpected words, but before she could respond, a loud crash echoed from somewhere deep within the mansion. They both jolted at the sound, confusion reflecting in their eyes. What was that? Emily asked, fear creeping back in. I don't know, Ronald replied. Rising from his chair, they both hurried toward the source of the commotion. Uncertainty filled the air. Was it a sign of more trouble? Or could it shift the course of their conversation? Emily's mind raced with possibilities, but one thing became crystal clear. Their lives, intertwined in ways neither expected, would never be the same again. What lay ahead? Would the crash reveal hidden truths or bring new obstacles? The night was just beginning. Emily and Ronald hurried through the long, dimly lit hallway, past portraits that seemed to silently watch their frantic movement. Each step echoed against the polished marble floor, amplifying her racing heart. The sound of the crash had come from the kitchen, she was almost certain. What if it's just a shelf? She suggested, trying to calm the growing anxiety gnawing at her. We'll find out soon enough, Ronald said curtly, his irritation rising despite the situation. They reached the kitchen, but the door was slammed shut. Ronald pushed against it, the wood creaking in protest before swinging open. The room was in disarray. Pots and pans lay scattered across the floor, and the refrigerator door hung wide, its contents spilling onto the tiles. A figure stood in the center, Lila, one of the other housekeepers, her eyes wide with shock and embarrassment. Emily felt a pang of sympathy for her. Lila had always been kind, a soft presence in the bustling mansion. What happened? Ronald barked, his authority laced with impatience. I was just trying to grab the flour, Lila stammered, glancing at the mess with shame. I didn't mean to knock everything over. Emily stepped forward, gently placing a hand on Lila's arm. It's okay. Accidents happen, she said, offering a supportive smile. Lila blinked rapidly, a hint of relief glowing in her eyes. But Ronald's displeasure loomed large, filling the air with tension. Clean this up, and do it quickly, he ordered, his voice as flat as before. As Lila nodded hastily, Emily felt a surge of protectiveness. Wait, she said, raising her voice. It's late, and she deserves a break. I'll help. Ronald's eyes widened in disbelief, but he could only watch as Emily turned to Lila. Let me handle this. You don't have to do everything alone, she urged. Before she could even blink, they were knee-deep in flour and spilled sugar, laughter slipping through the cracks in their resolve. Emily remembered how they once shared dreams while preparing meals together, their conversations often late into the night, softening the weight of their circumstances. Can you believe him? Lila snorted, trying to brush some flour from her sleeves. I mean, who does he think he is? The king of the castle? With each word, Emily felt herself unearthing more of her own hidden feelings. He thinks his power gives him the right to crush our dreams, she replied, her voice steadying. But I'm not standing in his shadow anymore. Lila's eyes shone brightly. You've got such talent, Emily. You should sing for everyone. Show them who you really are. Suddenly, Emily's heart raced with the memory of performing in front of an audience, the excitement sparking a fire deep within her. Maybe I will, she whispered, glancing back toward the open door, where Ronald stood watching, a stranger in his own home. Wait, you said you were going to audition? Lila nudged her with a smile. You've got to let me hear you sing one of those songs. Emily hesitated, feeling the weight of her own fears creep back in. What if I'm not good enough? What if everyone laughs at me like he said? Remember what you told me? Lila leaned in closer. Better a fool chasing a dream than someone too afraid to follow theirs. You've got this, Emily. Taking a deep breath, Emily squared her shoulders. You know what? I'm going to sing. Suddenly, without warning, the lights flickered, then plunged the kitchen into darkness. A collective gasp escaped both women as the weight of uncertainty compressed them. Was it just a power outage, or something more ominous, foreshadowing deeper turmoil? What was that? Ronald's voice, heavy with suspicion, cut through the thick darkness. Emily's heart pounded louder, but something else ignited within her an unexpected surge of bravery. She was ready to face whatever came next, ready to be heard. And just like that, the mansion, which had once felt so suffocating, began to feel like a stage where she could finally write her own script. As she gathered her courage to sing, the atmosphere crackled with potential. What if a haunting melody awaited just behind her lips? What if Lila's encouragement was all she needed to break free, but would Ronald allow that? Or would he push back harder than she could imagine? The scene was set for a confrontation that would define their futures, for within the shadows, a sliver of light beckoned. Would it illuminate paths, or bring turmoil? The next moment would reveal everything. The darkness enveloped them, thick and suffocating like the weight of their unspoken fears. Emily could barely make out Lila's silhouette beside her, but the anxiety reflected in their breaths was palpable. She could hear Ronald shifting uneasily, every sound seeming to echo in the vast emptiness of the kitchen. Turn it on, would you? He snapped, irritation seeping through his voice. We can't stand here all night. Lila took a step forward, her hand fumbling along the wall for the switch. As she flicked it, the lights sputtered back to life, illuminating the mess left in their wake. Flour dust hung in the air like a gentle fog, making the chaos seem surreal. But as the light brightened, so did the resolve inside Emily. Let us clean this together, Lila, she said, motioning to the clutter at their feet. Then I'll sing. Lila blinked, caught off guard. Really? Yes. If we're going to do this, let us do it right. Emily's voice was steady now, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that had peppered her moments before. They began gathering the fallen ingredients, their hands working in tandem, moving through the remnants of chaos. Emily felt the rhythm of their movements, a repetitive dance that ignited a spark within her. It was more than just cleaning. It felt like reclaiming a part of herself that had been buried under expectations and feared. As Ronald loomed in the background, frustration etched on his face. She could sense the power shift subtly. Here they were, two women uncovered from the shadows of disapproval and doubt. You think you can just sing and magically win everyone over? Ronald finally interjected, his tone biting. It's not that easy, you know. But he misunderstood the fire smoldering in Emily's heart. It was more than just a song. It was a stand against his dismissive demeanor, her chance to break free from the shackles he represented. Maybe not, she replied, a defiant spark in her olive eyes. But I'm going to try. Once the room was more or less back in order, silence settled in again, thick with anticipation. Lila stood beside her, offering an encouraging nod when Emily caught her gaze. Just remember, it doesn't matter what he thinks, Lila whispered. You're doing this for you, not for him. Emily took a deep breath, feeling the air fill her lungs, a moment of calm before the storm. She turned slightly, positioning herself in front of the kitchen's wide counter, her makeshift stage. Ronald crossed his arms, skepticism radiating from his posture as he leaned against the doorframe. But she focused on Lila's encouraging smile. I'm going to sing a song that means something to me. Emily called out, her voice quivering slightly, but gaining strength as she continued. A song about dreams. The melody she had long buried began to unfurl within her, each note entwining with her heartbeat. She opened her lips and let the music flow, a tender yet powerful sound echoing through the kitchen. It was raw and genuine, every lyric laced with the hope she had been holding onto for so long. As each note filled the space, she saw Ronald's skepticism waver. Surprise flashed across his face, swiftly replaced by contemplation. Lila swayed with her, visibly moved, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Emily lost herself in the song, allowing the words to wash over her, over the remnants of flour and sugar scattered around. It was freeing, liberating in a way she hadn't anticipated. But just as she reached the crescendo, a sudden crash interrupted them. The sound was sharp, rattling the delicate moment. Ronald's face hardened again. This time, it was genuine anger. "What is going on?" he barked, breaking the spelled I in the corner of the kitchen. A cabinet door had swung open, releasing a cascade of dishes that shattered on the floor. Lila gasped. "Oh no. Really?" Emily looked at Lila, then back to Ronald, a storm of emotions swirling within her. Ronald stepped forward, his voice razor-sharp. "If this is some sort of rebellion, no. It's about finding my voice." Emily shot back, heart pounding, and suddenly, she realized this was more than just a song. It was the beginning of everything she had been too afraid to claim. As the dust settled around them, Emily knew they had crossed a threshold, and the confrontation that lay ahead would either shatter everything she had fought for or release her in ways she couldn't even yet imagine. What other secrets lay hidden in the shadows of that grand house? What might emerge from the cracks as the walls of expectation started to crumble? The next moment would not only test her strength, but reveal how far she was willing to go to own her truth. Emily stood there, heart racing, as Ronald's frustration echoed through the room, drowning out her thoughts. The tension felt like a tightrope, high above the ground, and she could either let it snap or own her landing. "Do you really think this is about your opinions and support?" she spat back, feeling her pulse quicken with every word. "You don't get it, Ronald. You never have." Lila stepped closer, a fierce protectiveness radiating from her. "This isn't just a song. It's her chance to break free from everything that's held her back." Ronald's eyes flickered between the two women, a mix of disbelief and rage. "Break free? You think this singing nonsense will somehow make you a star? Give me a break." Emily clenched her fists, the tremors of doubt threatening to rise again, but she shoved them deep down. This was more than a rebuttal. It was a moment she refused to let slip through her fingers. "Maybe I'm not aiming for stardom, but I am aiming for something real. For once in my life, I just want to be heard." Before Ronald could respond, her voice slipped back into the space like water, smooth and powerful. She regarded Lila, their shared history snapping between them like a current. With renewed focus, she took a step closer to the sink, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Just give me a moment," she told Lila. "I need to finish this." Taking a deep breath, she began again, that same melody surging forth, stronger than before. This time, she felt the words flow effortlessly, wrapping around lost dreams and fervent hopes. "This is for me," she reminded herself, pushing through the doubt. The song carried the weight of her reality, a mix of longing and passion rising like dough to the occasion. Lila felt the energy swell, joining in softly, harmonizing with her. This wasn't just Emily's story anymore. It was theirs, a song born from sisterhood, forged in shared struggles. That Ronald's expression twisted from anger to confusion, battling the raw emotion enveloping the room. His guarded demeanor began to crack as the vibrant notes filled the air, catching him off guard. For the first time, the lack of control scared him. He was losing grip on the narrative he had always crafted. As they reached the final lines, Emily closed her eyes, lost in the moment. It was everything and nothing all at once. The kitchen faded, the chaos of flour and broken dishes dissolving around them. Just the music remained, wrapped in vulnerability and power. But the moment exploded when Ronald finally shouted, "Stop!" Shudders coursed through Emily at the command, freezing her in place. "Why?" "Because it's messing with your image." Lila hurled back, fighting back the flood of emotion. "We are not here to please you. That's enough. He shouted. The sharpness of Ronald's voice chilled the air, but in that moment, Emily felt a spark of defiance igniting within her. All those years spent under his thumb, lost in doubt, they all culminated here. You think this is all a joke? She said, voice quaking but resolute. It's not. I deserve to be seen not because of you, but because I'm me. Ronald's brow furrowed. Although Emily could finally see the cracked confusion etched deep within as he processed her words. She realized then, she was standing at the precipice, wrestling with her own fears, but more importantly, wrestling with him. Suddenly, she dropped her arms to her sides, grounding herself. You might laugh now, but I promise you, I'm only just getting started. The silence that followed was deafening, potent with unspoken tension. All eyes were on her. Lila's kindling encouragement and Ronald's withering disbelief. What would happen in the next heartbeat? Would Ronald retaliate? Would Emily be able to stand her ground against the formidable facade he projected? As uncertainty crackled in the air, Emily stood firm, heart racing with a blend of fear and elation. Any second now, something monumental would shift. But what could Ronald possibly say next that could shatter her moment of awakening? Emily's chest tightened as the silence enveloped her. The air felt electric, heavy with expectation. Ronald's expression was a mix of disbelief and something she dared to hope was fear. Fear of her voice finally breaking through the walls he had built around her for so long. You're serious? Ronald scoffed, shaking his head slowly. You really think some song about your sob story will change anything? People like us don't get to be heard. Each word was like a brick hitting the floor, but Emily stood still, her shoulders squared. Why not? Maybe you don't want to hear me, but I'm tired of being invisible. Tired of your rules. With that, a rush surged through her. Lila's hand brushed against hers, a subtle reminder that she wasn't fighting alone. They were a team, a formidable duo. Ronald advanced, his demeanor shifting like a storm front. You think you've got what it takes? You think singing in a kitchen will do something for you? You're just a housekeeper, Emily. Stay in your lane. A swell of rage bubbled inside her, mixing with the resolve she'd just discovered. Maybe offering me a place in this world was all smoke and mirrors. I want something real, something I can own. As she spoke, a vision swam before her, the stage lights warming her face, the audience leaning forward, caught up in her sound. It wasn't about fame. It was about connection, authenticity. And you need to know that, Lila added fiercely, stepping in front of Emily, as if to shield her from Ronald's verbal blows. You don't get to define what she can or can't do. You might have the money, but she has the talent. As if the universe itself was responding, the energy in the room shifted. The tension coiled tighter, but a vibrant surge of defiance filled Emily's chest. She took a bold step forward. You're right, I'm a housekeeper. But that doesn't make my voice any less important. It has power, it can uplift. This isn't just your life to dictate, Ronald. Ronald's brow furrowed, his anger battling with a hint of uncertainty. You really think anyone will want to listen to you? His voice rose, desperate to pull her back into submission. Yes, she replied, her own voice lifting in strength. I believe it. And then, almost without thinking, she mustered the deepest part of herself, channeling every moment of struggle, every disappointment, every ounce of her desire to rise above. Listen to me, she sang, her voice coming out as a haunting, powerful melody that turned heads and silenced doubts. The notes fell from her lips like water after a drought, begging for attention and understanding. Lila gasped, her eyes shimmering with excitement as she began to harmonize, amplifying Emily's song. Their voices wove together seamlessly, a tapestry of resilience and hope that filled the space, swallowing the naysayer whole. But just then, Ronald's laughter sliced through the music, as harsh as shattered glass. This is a joke. You think that us singing? You think you can turn this into anything? Emily stumbled, struggling to reconcile the two realities colliding before her. Laugh if you want, but I want to stop, she shouted back, her confidence reborn each time she refused to back down. This wasn't just about singing anymore. It was about claiming her voice, her identity, her worth. Ronald's laughter faded, replaced by an expression she couldn't quite decipher. Concern? Fear? Whatever it was, it fueled her. And in that moment, she knew she had crossed a threshold. But as Ronald took a step forward, eyes narrowing, Emily's heart raced, wondering if the battle she was fighting was far bigger than she ever anticipated. Would she be able to push through the chaos of his disbelief? Could her emerging star power shine bright enough to challenge the dark shadows of his control? As the air hummed with anticipation, Emily made a choice. She would face whatever came next. Then a sharp voice broke through. Enough. You're both going to regret this. What would Ronald do next in his anger? Would he shatter everything Emily had just fought to build? Emily's heart pounded in her chest. Ronald's words hung thick in the air, a storm cloud ready to burst. She could see it in his eyes now, a flicker of something unrecognizable. Was it panic? Or was it merely anger? Regret? You think I would regret standing up for myself? Her voice held a steadiness that surprised even her. Maybe it's you who regret not listening. She locked eyes with Ronald, her resolve deepening with each second. Lila squeezed Emily's hand, an anchor amidst the chaos. She could practically feel the energy shifting heavy and potent, like the thick humidity before a summer thunderstorm. Ronald's face twisted in irritation. You think this is just some game? He spat. You think your pathetic dreams can become real? I built this place, Emily. I control every damn thing here. You are nothing. With a fierce pulse of bravery, Emily shoved past the fear. Then watch me turn nothing into something. The words spilled from her lips like a spell, electrifying the air between them. At that moment, she could almost hear the murmurs of possibility. She took a deep breath, inhaling the courage that had gathered in the room. Every song I sing, every word I say, it will resonate beyond these walls. Ronald stepped closer, towering over her. You are just a housekeeper playing dress-up in a fantasy. You think you can play with the big dogs? His laughter echoed cruelly, but it only fueled her fire. Yes, I do, she shouted back, her voice straining and raw with emotion. For too long, you've kept me shackled to your rules, but I want to let fear decide my future. In that moment, his laughter faltered, the confidence he wielded beginning to crack. Emily could see it, just a flicker of doubt, a tremor in his facade. She pressed on, determined to exploit the chink in his armor. I may be a housekeeper, but I am also a voice that has been dying to be heard. Lila's eyes glistened with admiration, and Emily felt the weight of their shared journey grounding her. It was more than just a battle now. It was a reckoning. The support wrapped around her like warm sunlight, igniting a spark deep inside. Enough, Ronald thundered, but his voice wavered as he realized the enormity of what he was up against. Then everything froze, a singular heartbeat pulsing in the air. Emily lifted her chin, defiance written across her face. She sang again, this time louder, letting her voice pour out like a waterfall, cascading over the discord. It was pure, raw, and filled with passion and explosion in the silence. Look at you, she shouted among the notes, a smile breaking through the seriousness of her stare. You've worked so hard to build walls. But my voice, it knows no boundaries. Emily felt the music cradling her words, lifting her higher. It was like each note was a stone being cast into a calm lake, rippling outwards, touching everything. Stop, Ronald yelled, reaching to grab her arm, but Lila stepped in again, blocking him as if deflecting a blow. Let her sing. Emily looked at Lila, seeing the love and support radiating from her. It gave her courage. As she continued singing, she pushed through the layers of doubt, letting the sound wash over her, through her, and out into the world. Ronald's expression morphed from anger to something else, uncertainty mingled with annoyance. As the melody enveloped him, his posture softened just a fraction. He didn't want to feel this. He didn't want this simple housekeeper to reach him. But there she was, breaking through. And for the first time, he was silent, as her voice filled the space with hope and depth that refused to back down. The music echoed, winding around them, and Emily felt the crowd outside, the invisible audience she had always longed for, begin to gather. Feet shuffled outside the door, whispers cut through the air. But then, the door flew open. Ronald, what is going on in here? A voice boomed, fierce and authoritative. Surprise gripped them both, and Emily's heart raced. Who was this new arrival? What would they bring to the simmering confrontation? The door swung wide, and in walked a striking figure who seemed to embody authority. The tall, imposing silhouette filled the doorway, casting a long shadow across the room. Emily's heart thudded louder as she took in the black blazer, pressed shirt, and polished shoes. This newcomer was a whirlwind of confidence and control, yet he carried an air of curiosity too. Ronald? The stranger's voice held a powerful resonance as he stepped inside, eyes darting to the scene before him. Ronald's defiantly twisted features quickly morphed into a mask of feigned calm. What is happening here? Lila instinctively tightened her grip on Emily's hand, a silent encouragement as the tension crackled in the air. Emily could feel the eyes of the crowd outside. The whispers had quieted down, replaced by hushed anticipation. She wanted to step forward, to claim her ground even further, but felt the weight of uncertainty cling to her like a heavy blanket. Ronald cleared his throat, clearly flustered. Nothing to worry about, just a little disagreement. His voice lacked its usual conviction. The stranger narrowed his eyes, not buying Ronald's dismissive demeanor. Disagreement? It looks like more than that to me. He turned his gaze toward Emily, and for a heartbeat, their eyes locked. Something in him softened under the weight of her fierce passion. Are you all right? Yes, Emily replied, her voice steadier than she felt. I was just trying to be heard. The newcomer seemed intrigued, his brow raised slightly. Heard? In this room? He gestured around as if the walls had ears. Emily took in a deep breath, drawing from the courage that had carried her thus far. Yes, I've spent too long in the shadows, too long listening to someone tell me I'm nothing. I am more than what you see. She felt the words rush out in a flood, weaving her truth into the air between them. The man's expression shifted, surprise flitting across his face. Ronald fidgeted, the cracks in his facade widening at her declaration. And who might you be? The stranger asked, his curiosity igniting. Emily, a housekeeper, she replied, the weight of her words feeling both heavy and liberating. Emily, he repeated her name, letting it roll off his tongue. When you say you want to be heard, what exactly do you mean? I want to sing, she said, the simplicity of the answer carrying the weight of her fight. I want to share my voice, to inspire others. I want to let fear dictate my life anymore. The man studied her closely, his posture relaxing. What do you want from Ronald? Nothing, she said finally, her voice quiet but resolute. I want to show that I am capable of so much more than being stuck in his world. She gestured around the room, her heart racing. This space is not my limit. Ronald's face darkened, and the tension surged like a tidal wave. You think this is it? You think you can just walk away? Emily faced Ronald with unwavering strength. I'm not walking away. I'm stepping into my truth. I am ready to soar. Lila beamed, her support radiant as the words resonated in the room. The stranger regarded them both with newfound respect, the authority he carried shifting in the face of Emily's bravery. As the silence thickened again, Emily's throat tightened. What would this man do next? Would he support her, or would he follow Ronald's lead? Then, with a flash of inspiration, she raised her chin high. Let me show you who I am. With all eyes on her, she drew in a breath, ready to break free. What would happen here in this moment? Would they embrace her, or would the door slam shut on her dream before it could even begin to bloom? The room held its breath. The silence weighed heavily, as if the universe itself was waiting, hearts pulsing in tandem. Emily's, Lila's, and even Ronald's. It felt almost electric. She focused on the stranger, seeking understanding in his sharp gaze. This moment could change everything. Show us, he urged, his tone softer, an unexpected invitation. With sudden resolve, Emily stepped forward, her heart soaring and crashing like waves against the shore. Flicking a glance to Lila, she found unwavering support in her friend's eyes. I'll sing, she said, and the words ignited a flame in her belly. Ronald's expression twisted with disbelief. You really think they care? His scoff mingled with the air, but Emily wouldn't let it dim her spirit. Her feet planted firmly on the ground, she took a breath deep as the ocean, filling her lungs with all she had: fear, hope, and relentless determination. Then she began to sing. The melody flowed like honey, sweet and rich. Each note was an unveiling of her truth, a declaration of her dreams, and an echo carried from the depths of her soul. The words spilled forth, a tapestry of emotion woven from her struggles and aspirations. As she sang, she could feel the atmosphere shifting. Lila joined in softly, their voices curling into a harmony that took flight. lifting them high above the weight of judgment. Emily's voice broke through the heavy air, every note a battle cry against the limitations placed upon her. Ronald stood dumbfounded, his sharp features softening ever so slightly. As the sound washed over him, something in her power began to unravel the chains he had spun around her. The stranger beside him leaned in, captivated as if witnessing a phenomenon he never expected to behold. The kitchen transformed into a stage, their laughter and resilience filling the space with light. Shadows faded. The weight that once suffocated Emily now receded into a beautiful rhythm that seemed to challenge the very walls of the grand house. As the finale approached, Emily's emotions soared. She could finally feel the crescendo of her heart matching the rise of her melody. It was about more than just a song. It was her chance to flip the narrative, to show that she was far more than just the help. She was alive, vibrant, capable of making waves that would ripple toward the horizon. As the final notes hung in the air, the silence that followed was thick with emotion. Lila beamed, clapping her hands with pride, while the stranger looked on with an expression of awe. But the transformation in Ronald was the most startling of all. Beneath the sheen of his arrogance, a flicker of respect emerged, as if the arrogance he had clung to for so long was dissolving, melting in the fiery light that Emily had ignited. And just like that, the moment crystallized. Emily held her breath, the vulnerability washing over her. "I will not be defined by you or anyone else," she declared, her voice steady. "I'm here to create my own path." "Emily," Ronald finally spoke, his tone almost tentative, "maybe I've underestimated you. Maybe I've underestimated us." There was a shift in his demeanor, a realization dawning that transcended the barriers he had once upheld. "You deserve a chance. The best I can offer you is support." The room held its breath, every heartbeat echoing in synchronization, unsure of how to respond. Was it a trick? Had the man truly changed? But in Emily's heart, hope blossomed like wildflowers breaking through concrete, untamed, beautiful, and unstoppable. "I'm ready for that chance," Emily whispered, more to herself than to him. Resolutely, she glanced at the stranger, the man still observing in rapt attention. "And I wanted to start now." He stepped forward. "I can help you showcase your talent, connect you to those who can guide you. No strings, just pure opportunity." Tears brimmed in Emily's eyes, her heart swelling with gratitude and disbelief. This was everything she had dreamed of, a chance to finally break away from the confines of the life she had known. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. The shadows of uncertainty began to lift, replaced by the brightness of possibilities. As they stood in that bustling kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of flour and spilled dreams, it became clear that this gathering was more than just a reckoning of voices. It was a birth of strength, a declaration that both parties had more in common than they'd ever imagined. The world outside awaited, brimming with opportunities, and Emily took a deep breath, feeling a rush of freedom. She looked at Ronald one last time, not with anger, but with the understanding that transformation was possible for anyone, even him. The road ahead would not be easy, and she knew there would be challenges, but now she was fully armed with her voice and her dreams. She would face whatever came next, not as a housekeeper, but as an artist ready to share her song with the world. And from that night forward, their lives would intertwine in unexpected ways, paving new paths, revealing hidden depths, and forging bonds that would change them forever. It was a pivotal moment. A true transformation had begun, and as they stepped out of the kitchen into the glow of possibility, the air shimmered with hope, promising even greater tomorrows. Don't let these stories just fade away. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive transformations like this. It's time to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and love this content. I want to hear your reactions. Comment below and share your feelings about this ending. And remember, don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring journey. Your support matters, and only true fans understand the impact of these actions. Let us grow this incredible community together.